Are you about to go nuts trying to paint watercolor, but it just keeps eluding you? These 3 tips that I'm going to share with you today will save your sanity. And I think the reason why these things that I'm going to talk about today don't get talked about much is it becomes an experienced watercolors artist muscle memory. We don't even think about what we're doing anymore. So in today's video, I'm going to show you 3 little tricks that will become part of your muscle memory, I promise, and will make painting watercolor so much more effective. First, I want to introduce myself though. My name is Rachel Parker Varner. I like to teach not just the how, but the why of watercolor, so you move along your painting journey a lot faster. I have 3 free online communities you can join. One is right here on YouTube that is not very active, but it is here on YouTube under my community tab. You can also join my free Facebook group. And whenever you post your painting there and ask for advice, we will give you advice on how to improve. And that's a great way to grow. And ask your watercolor questions and just enjoy the community, enjoy other people's posts. I also have a free community area on my Patreon, which is kind of like my online school, but you can join my online school for free. And it's kind of like joining my mailing list. You get frequent emails about what's going on, my art adventures. For example, right now I'm trying to put together a watercolor cruise. It's going to be amazing. And you can also, and another benefit of being a free member is you can post your paintings on my community area. So be sure to check those out. I would love to see you more online. I will also talk more about my paid offerings at the end of this video. But let's jump into these 3 tips. Here we go. Okay, my first tip is wiping your brush off on the jar after you dip it in the water. All right, let's look at my second version of this Rudolph painting. I did paint it twice, but did you see that? I dipped my brush into the water jar and quickly rubbed it off on the side of the jar. I don't even think about it, y'all. And what I'm doing is getting this ear wet because I'm going to use a technique called charging. See, I just did it again. I'm going to use charging where you get your paper wet and then you drop in paint. But if you get your paper too wet, too puddling, it's not going to look good at all. Your paint will not go across the surface smoothly like it is here. It will go to the edges of the puddle if you have too much water on your paper. So when I dip my brush in the water and then rub it on the side of the jar, it has the perfect amount of water in it to then put on my paper to pre-wet my paper. All right, let's look at another example. Here I go. I'm dipping my brush in the water, getting it clean, and I rubbed it on the side of the jar because I don't want too much water in it when I mix this lamp black paint, because I want my lamp black paint to be a little bit thicker. You can see as I smear it there on the palette how thick it is. It's not drippy. It's pretty thick. This is what I call cream consistency. And I'm in the stage of the painting where it's time to start applying darker paint on top of dried layers. And so to get darker paint, you need less water mixed into your paint. And so when you go to clean your brush and then go to mix a new bit of paint and you want it to be thick, you've got to do it with a brush that has been rubbed out. That sounds like I'm a gangster, but that's not what I mean by rubbing out. I just mean you get the little extra drip of water out of your brush so that you can mix thicker paint. All right, let's go back to Rachel. Here we go. All right, another thing that people have really said has helped them a lot that I don't even think about as an artist who's been painting 25 years. But for beginners, it's crucial to learn this trick, and that is to blot your heel. Now, Charles Reed had a little twist on this. He would say, shake your brush, but it does the same exact thing. It leaves your tip activated, but it gets the excess water out of your heel. So you can shake your brush. I don't do that. That's not in my muscle memory. I blot my heel with a tissue, or you can do it with a sponge, paper towel, whatever, So that's why you always see experienced artists with a little sponge up by their side or a little something to blot their brush. So you can blot your heel. And what that does is you pick up your paint and then you've got watery paint in your brush. So if you blot your heel, then the excess water, you'll get the excess water out, but your tip will still be activated. So let's take a look at this in a real world situation in my Rudolph tutorial. Here we go. Okay, so what we're going to do is have nice, almost cream consistency paint. We're going to blot our heel. We're going to paint with a smaller brush, and we're going to focus on painting around the lights. And so because I blotted my heel, it makes it possible for me to paint in a smaller area around little eye glints and get the shape of the eye just right, because I have really good control of my paint because I blotted my heel. Okay, here's another example of why I would blot my heel. I'm painting this cat eye, and the cat eye is wet. So I'm painting wet and wet. I'm dropping color into the cat eye. So I pick up my green paint and I make it a little thicker, but then I also blot my heel so that when I drop this green paint into the cat eye, it stays kind of where I put it. It doesn't bloom out as much and fill up the whole cat eye. It just stays kind of in the middle third of the cat eye. Kind of. It stays more controlled. So even though I'm painting it wet and wet and it does melt out into the rest of the eye, it mostly stays where I put it. Okay, here's one more example. This is a commission of a cat I did, and I'm picking up very thick cream consistency paint, and I'm going to put in the whisker dots, and I want them to be soft, but not bloom out too much. So I pick up cream consistency paint. If you don't know what I mean by milk tea and cream consistency paint, make sure to watch the watercolor clock tutorial that I did. And I will link that in the comments. And then notice when I dot these on, they are soft and they bloom out a little, but they don't bloom out too much. It's because I blotted my heel. All right, another thing that you can do to take this to the next level is to use dry brush technique. And dry brush technique is a really great way to add texture and interest to your paintings. And it can make really organic looking marks, especially if you're painting fur or tree foliage, natural elements, texture on jeans. I mean, all kinds of different textures, rust, wood bark. I mean, there's so many different ways to use dry brush. Sparkly water is a good one, but the way that you do this is another blotting technique that I don't even think about when I do it. I do it so fast, but I was doing it in this Rudolph tutorial too when I went to do his ear fur that's kind of lighter and like really thin fur, and I needed it just to look soft and kind of ethereal. Dry brush was perfect, and the way that I did it is I picked up my paint and then I wiped my paint laden brush on a tissue and then painted with that brush. So it got extra water out of my brush, but I still had plenty of pigment in my brush, just a lot less water. So let's take a look at a real world example of this. Here we go. Since I have this black in my brush, I might do a little bit of dry brush around the ears. Just very dry brush. Maybe he's got some furry things here. Use a side brush. All right, let's look at a little bonus footage, because bonus footage is fun. And we're going into the holiday season, and I feel really generous because I've had an amazing year, and it's all because of you guys. So thank you everyone who has supported this channel by watching my videos, binging my videos. That's what the algorithm likes best, by the way, is when you binge my videos. When you use my affiliate links and add extra things to your order, above and beyond what I'm suggesting you buy, that also helps me a lot. So thank you for doing that. Liking my videos, boosting my videos, paying for my online school even, that's amazing. Going on my trips, coming to my workshops. I'm doing many in 2026. I'm going to be doing a lot of in-person workshops in Columbia, South Carolina. My goal is to do one once a month, and only 4 people can attend at a time because my studio is small. So it's going to be an amazing opportunity to learn directly from me. Pinch me. I am humbled by this fact. I have a student that is flying from Seattle all the way to South Carolina just to take one of my workshops, my weekend workshop. So that's so humbling, and it's just so rewarding to be a part of your journey and to help you along. So be on the lookout for those opportunities. So when you join my Patreon, you also will learn of these learning opportunities like the art cruise I'm putting together. I only have 30 spots, and I have amazing artists lined up. Me, my friend Barbie, who has been featured on this channel, and Dean Krauser is going to teach on my art cruise June 2027 to Alaska on the gorgeous ship. Watch YouTube videos about this ship. It's gorgeous. Celebrity Edge. Don't miss all these exciting art adventures. And in order not to miss these exciting art adventures, and I'm sure there'll be new ones like the Lisa Wong workshop I just finished that was epic, be sure to join my Patreon so you learn about that. Can I dip it? Not crazy about some of these. Edges. Create some softer edges. Just gonna kind of loosen up here. Get some cobalt blue, really watery. I'm gonna push his back end back even more. Maybe. And I'm not crazy about this orange either. For whatever reason, I'm just not feeling it, y'all. And then now all of a sudden I like it more. And then I think I really like this hot pink, so I'm going to get a little water. I'm going to keep the highlights on the nose dry gonna let any drips drip off. And I want to keep his chin kind of white there. But I'm gonna let this, I'm gonna do another layer of hot pink here. Just see. Let it glow. Let that baby glow. Maybe get some orange. Then do some negative painting. So this is a good time for me to segue into what is my online school, my Patreon, what is the special that I'm running to the end of the year that is a huge opportunity. My online school is housed on a website called Patreon that has lots and lots of different artists. I am one of them, and it's like subscribing to me. You subscribe to me, and every month you get billed automatically. It's very easy to cancel anytime. But if you join for a whole year, you pay for 10 months and you get 2 months free. And I am drastically changing my Patreon because it is overwhelming to me, and I think to my students, to have so many options. I used to have a $3 tier, a $5 tier, a $9 tier, 13, and so on and so forth. And so I'm simplifying it to only 2 tiers. There's going to be a $30 tier, which is professional level, the highest amount of access to me. You can send me your paintings for in-depth critiques or works in progress for suggestions on how to improve when you join for a year. The $9 tier is completely going away. After 2026, you will not be able to access my content for less than $13 a month. That's what it is now. It's a really great deal to join in December of 2026 at the $9 level, because in 2027, the $9 tier is going to change to my $13 tier. All right, so that's my Patreon. And remember, if you join for a year, you pay for 10 months and you get 2 months free, and you get more in-depth access and critiques from me. You can email me paintings and get an in-depth critique. So I hope you take advantage of all those goodies in 2025, and we're going to have such a fun year in 2026. I'm really excited. And remember to join my free online communities and say hello in the comments. Be sure to check out the comments where I will link some goodies and some really not to miss videos. And until next time, go watercolor your world. Bye, everybody. All right, do you guys want to nerd out a little bit? I want to show you these paintings and talk about the difference in them, and also talk about why I did 2, and the difference between a more hot press surface versus a more rough press or cold press surface, and why you would choose to do one over the other, and what the differences are, and just kind of nerd out on specifics. So, all right, so why did I even do 2 paintings? Well, the more you paint a motif, the more you learn about it. So this was my first try at the Rudolph painting. This is on mixed media, cheaper paper. So what does that do for me? 1, it gives me an idea how this motif will look on a hot press surface. Mixed media paper gives you more of a hot press surface. What does that even mean? Well, it's more of a, it doesn't blend as easily, and the marks that you make are more watermark looking even when they dry, which I like that. I was introduced to hot press, the value of painting on hot press, by Bev Joswiak, and she paints in a very loose, splashy style that I love. And I like for my paintings to look very watery and watercolor style even after they dry, and hot press surface does that for my work. So I painted this first try on the mixed media paper to see what it looks like and to see if I even like this motif enough to continue and put more energy into, which I liked this overall, but this is cheaper paper. It's a hot press surface. So in order to really explore any single motif or painting design, it's really smart to paint it more than once. You'll learn so much. And so I painted it a second time on the Meeden rough press. I just released a free video recently about Meeden rough press and why I love it so much. My owl painting came out beautifully on it. That painting already sold. It was a hit. And so I wanted to try this painting also on rough press just to see what would happen. You don't really know how a painting's going to look until you paint it, for me anyway, because I'm not a tight, realistic painter that knows exactly what my painting's going to look like at the end. I don't want to. I like to let a painting tell me what it wants. I want to loosen it up and be painterly. So this is my second try, and I really like this too, but it does have a slightly softer, more blended, more almost like more like an oil painting might look. It doesn't look as watercolor style as on the hot press, in my opinion. But the payoff of painting on this surface is, one, you can get some interesting textures, which I didn't take advantage of in this painting. Two, you can use a scrubber to loosen it up if you don't like something. And I went to town, as you saw earlier, with my scrubber on this one. If you use a scrubber on hot press, it can damage the paper. So this paper will allow you to use a scrubber. And this Meeden rough press, specifically this paper, I really like it. It has a really professional finish. It's very nice, and it's like probably 20% cheaper than the expensive Arches cold press gold standard paper. So I did put links to this paper in the comments, one to the Meeden website where you can get 12% off. And also you can get this paper on Amazon, which I'll put a link to Amazon as well. Shop around, see which place is cheaper if you decide to try this Meeden watercolor paper. I really like it. All right, so that is a little overview of why I did Rudolph twice and the differences in the two paintings and why they had differences. So I hope that was interesting. All right, I'm really going to go this time. Now go watercolor your world. Bye, everybody.